Hello, welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. I am your host, Jose Galison. Today I'll be joined by Ace and Joe, I guess fellow theory bros. I guess that's what we are now. The question here today, would you steal? Actually, it's not even the question, the main question here, but a little bit cold open. Would you guys steal think about this, would you steal a penny to save a loved one's life? Should you steal a penny to save a loved one's life? Is that even relevant to the larger question at hand? And that question is, did Dave Smith or Zulu win the debate? All that and more.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Hello, welcome to the show, fellas. Sorry I butchered that intro, but hey, that's what happens when you do it in one take. We don't do any editing over here, mostly because I'm lazy. Pleasure to have you back on the show, Ace. First time for you, Joe. I guess to kind of give intros, but kind of first off, I want to ask you guys, because I do think it's relevant for today's discussion, whether we should take your opinion serious at all. The question here is, do you even have kids? Okay, a little bit of playing off of the Charles Murray, have you ever been? By the way, I want to say, just so you guys know, you can respect my opinion. I've been married well over a decade. I have 2 teenagers, so I think I claim the right of speaking on this matter, and I actually am a little bit of the king of the hill here. So,
yeah.
But Ace, I guess I'll let you start. Introduce yourself. You've been on the show before, but it's been a long time. This show started a little bit more of like a theory type show, but it's kind of whatever the hell I want to talk about. I haven't done so much theory as of late, so it's been a while since I've had people like you on, but pleasure to be revisiting this. I guess, actually, before I do give you the intro, I do want to caveat the reason I didn't even really want to make this a full-on episode, but my schedule's a little wonky right now. And I knew everyone was asking about, there was a few people asking my opinion and stuff, so, and I kind of feel like I was somewhat responsible for this debate even happening in the first place, so I think that's why a lot of people might want my opinion. So here we are. My schedule's a little wonky, so I would have just included this in like a morning live stream, my thoughts, but I figured, hey, I got so much going on, I don't know when I'm going to get around to doing that. So for the audience, we made it a full-on episode that way, and I got other people, in here so we can bounce ideas off of each other. But yeah, I have a little bit of a contentious thought on this, and the 2 people I have with me do as well. But sorry to leave you waiting there, Ace. I just want to caveat why I'm even doing this in the first place, but why we're delving into the specifics of somebody else's debate. This is a next-level theory bro nonsense, but I think it's worthwhile. But Ace, who are you, and who's your daddy? And are you a daddy?
I am not a daddy. I am Ace_Archist on Twitter. I am a theory nerd, have been for a very long time, and I wanted to say I very much appreciate being back on the show, Jose.
Hell yeah.
I also co-host the End Times Continue with my co-host Dino. So a little shout out there.
Hell yeah. Joe, who are you? What do you do? Who's your daddy? Are you a daddy? This tired joke. I don't think you have kids. You don't have to answer you want to. It's a tired joke at this point. But I'm trying to make it the Charles Murray thing because I really feel like if you aren't picking up on that, I don't know. I just feel like you're not really being intellectually honest. But Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Joe. I'm Burn the Lies on Twitter with an A, not an E, and the. I work for the Mises Institute bookstore, and I do not have kids. So there's that. I guess my opinion means less, but
Invalid. Yeah, invalidated.
yeah, I've been invalidated.
Yeah, that shit's just goofy, bro.
Oh yeah, no, life is complicated. That's why I don't have kids.
Yeah. All right. Now, to be fair, I mean, I'm obviously being silly a little bit, but with the, don't have kids, there obviously is some level of truth. There definitely is profound having children. It's been a big difference. And obviously, like, you can't replicate the experience of having a child in any way. But, I made the Charles Murray parallel because it's like the same thing with going to Israel. Like, I mean, if I went to, like, have you ever been? Like, yeah, you technically can't replicate that experience that Douglas Murray had by going to Israel. But obviously that by no means is an argument or anything at all. And to be fair, I bet you if we were to ask Dave about his debate with Zulu, he probably would say, "Oh, that wasn't an argument." But that's fair to some extent. It's just kind of an aside or making somewhat of a point. But at a certain point, you're like, this is kind of doing the majority of the lifting of the argument. Whether you intend it to be an argument or not, the people watching it are seeing this, and that's what's doing the legwork here. But I guess without any kind of further ado, I guess maybe we should just go ahead and start off with, kind of this. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and assume for this episode, if you're watching this, like if you haven't watched the Dave Smith Zulu thing or at least heard about it, I mean, I'm not going to hold your hand through it too much, but I guess kind of maybe just impressions of the debate. Maybe you can even say who won. I guess we can start with Ace. I mean, just for me, I guess kind of the way I would look at it, just first off, is like just at a simple. It feels like, you know how they say, like, hey, if you even put your name on the test, like at the ASVAB or the ACT or whatever, you get this many points. Well, honestly, I don't think Dave even put his fucking name on the test is kind of the point. Like, he literally just kind of handed in his Scantron to the guy at the front of the thing, didn't even write his name, and walked out the door. That's what it felt like to me. And obviously we'll go a little bit more into this, some more specifics. But Ace, what were your thoughts on this debate?
Yeah, I echo what you just said there. I feel like, in my personal opinion, Dave seemed like he didn't want to be there. And there were times where, I don't know if he intended this, but he very much was talking down to Zulu.
Yes.
And arguing or talking about like, I think he asked something like, I don't know how long you've been in this game or something like that, referring to how long he's been, around doing libertarian stuff. And also talking about, questioning whether he had kids. As you said, that he might not necessarily be presenting that as an argument, but it feels snide to me, at least. And I felt like there was a lot of fluff there, and there wasn't a lot of argumentation. And it seemed to me that, like, my hope for what was going to happen was that we were actually going to be able to drill down on Dave's beliefs about the non-aggression principle, as opposed to just saying that, well, it doesn't apply sometimes. I was hoping that we would get more of an explanation as to why he believes that it doesn't apply sometimes, as opposed to just like his feelings about it. And so I was hoping for more.
Joe, what were your thoughts? I think we're all going to be fairly similar here. But Joe, what were your takeaways from this? I mean, who do you think won? So on and so forth.
I think Zulu won, and I, for the most part, pretty much agree with both of what y'all said. I know you've seen and retweeted my responses about it. It seemed like Dave just didn't want to be there. Like while Zulu was giving his opening statement, he was just looking down and to the side and had this look on his face like he just doesn't care. And he's done that before in like the borders debate, and I was just like, you committed to a debate, and you can't just like act like you're above it because of your past accomplishments. Like I do like Dave, but like you went to a debate, you need to actually make arguments and not these emotional appeals or like or all this talking down stuff. Like that's what you chose to do, so do it.
Yep. This is something I've been thinking about. I thought about making a tweet, but I figured it would start a whole shitstorm again. But I genuinely think, I think Dave owes Jacob an apology. Honestly, I frankly, I guess for me, I guess as a podcaster, I saw that, and I get it. Sure, maybe to some extent, you go, oh, well, like, oh, I'm gracing you with my presence. You get all these views, and like I can tell you after doing this for a while. Yes, early on in the game, you're like, oh my god, this got 5,000 views. This got 20,000 views. But you kind of learn, low time or low time preference type behavior. Like, oh, those are just flashes in the pan type deal. That's cool. But it's not that big of a deal. But I would actually be more annoyed that, like, hey, I put on this debate expecting some sort of back and forth intellectual something, and I don't know, to be completely honest, I don't know about you guys, but I found myself fast forwarding through about 80% of what Dave said. It was frankly excruciating to listen to, because I guess maybe once again, this is a podcaster thing where I've noticed people have the skill of just talking without saying anything. And if anything, sometimes I almost kind of admire it, because you're like, oh shit, that's a useful skill to have as a podcaster. But sometimes you can see when people are doing it, and it's like, that was probably 90+% of what Dave did, was talking in circles, saying absolutely nothing. And I'm finding myself fast forwarding to get to anything of, anything of worth. And frankly, I didn't really find any of that. So, which makes it absolutely astounding for like an over 3.5 hour podcast. So this is kind of what I come to. I genuinely feel like Jacob's owed an apology. I don't know if I ask someone to come on for this. I mean, obviously, I don't know what do we owe to each other. I guess technically you don't owe them anything other than like a basic, nap type of adherence, I guess. But to some extent, I do feel like there's a little bit of an honor bound thing of somewhat like. And I've definitely fallen through. I guess for me, like I tend to talk about Oklahoma City bombing stuff, and there's times where I have dud episodes, and I feel bad about it. But this was a whole other level. This was like, to me, I don't know. I guess for one, I'm also not on that level. I'm not the debate bro. I know, just something about this came off as gross. One example, he openly admitted very, very early on that he didn't even watch Zulu's video. Which, whatever, I guess, to some extent. But then, you once again, you're not entitled to do it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. But if I was going to prep for a debate, you'd think you would. I mean, again, it's over 3 hours long, but dude, you read books, right? Like, is it that big of a deal? I mean, I don't know. I drive around a lot. You just put it on, on the headphones. Not a big deal. But then he went and he admitted he listened to another one of his videos as prep, which is the video that contextually had absolutely nothing to do with this debate. He watched his most viewed video, which I find something about that speaks to the dynamic here, that you go to prep and you look at his most viewed video that contextually has absolutely nothing to do. Well, I mean, maybe in like a big brain type way. I guess it is about socialism, his largest episode. But either way, my point being is it's like not even the subject matter. So I do think, frankly, Dave kind of owes, in I guess, more of an honor-bound type sense, some sort of an apology or something. Because I don't know. I know I see a lot of people hero worshipping online, but I was frankly kind of grossed out, and honestly, I don't know. I mean, maybe this sounds shitty, but I don't think I don't really care to invite Dave on any, like, I don't know, something about that. I mean, maybe but it sours me on the idea of it. Not that like that's some big loss for Dave, because I mean, I'm not that big of a show, but I gotta be honest, it's kind of like if you're gonna big bro and this is like grace you with my presence type vibe, yeah, I don't want any fucking favors. Like, I don't know. It just feels weird. I don't know. It may. And of this, I threw a lot out there, and any thoughts on any of that? I guess I just felt honestly almost offended by watching the debate. Frankly, I know maybe that sounds a little bit harsh, but I don't know. It felt like I wasted hours of my life. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's a debate. Like, I don't know. I've watched plenty of intellectual debates I enjoyed. This was a complete waste of my time. Any thoughts between the two of you? I guess, I mean, I threw it a lot there, and that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I was also disappointed. So I went in a little bit cynical. I didn't think much was going to amount from this, because I sort of like, I kind of like played a game with myself. I'm like, how many times is Dave going to call Zulu's position goofy, or say that life is complex, and and kind of ended up what happened. But I think that, yeah, I was disappointed in the debate, not Zulu's performance, but in the debate itself, in that there was a little bit of hope that I had that we would kind of get underneath Dave's position, like get to the root of like why he believes what he believes about the non-aggression principle. I'm a deontologist, right? I believe the NAP is true. I believe we ought to follow it. But if Dave had just come out and said, I don't believe in the NAP anymore, and here's why, I would have accepted that, right? I would have been like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't
right?
technically believe in the NAP, just to be honest. I'm an egoist.
Sure.
Like, for those who understand my beliefs, I don't believe in it. So, but I'll tell you that. So, but I also do see it as like I guess I do believe in the NAP, but to me that P stands for preference. It's just a very, 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 very strong preference. But go on.
Sure. Yeah. Like that position, right? Even though like we would disagree on that, I'm perfectly fine with that answer. You know what I mean? I just wish Dave had actually explained, why it was, because he seems to, in my opinion, I could be wrong on this, it seems to be he wants to hold to the NAP and say he's like his positions are being derived from the NAP, and also at the same time abandon the NAP. And I just want to know what the undergirding principle is, how he can distinguish when to abandon it and when to not abandon it. And I don't think I got that from the debate.
Mm-hmm. Joe, I don't know if you want to riff off anything there, or I guess you can kind of answer maybe what were you expecting from this debate kind of deal, and did you get anywhere near that?
I actually watched it twice. I watched it live and then right before this, just so I could recharge my memory of what happened. And I kind of wish I fast forwarded through it too, because it really just felt like it was a lot of like emotional, like pleading, like why, like just trying to, get Zulu to be like, I don't know, to guilt trip him into being like, okay, maybe I am evil because I believe that like it's wrong to steal a penny in this hypothetical. And like I don't understand why you would do that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me why you would do that in a debate about like if the NAP is true or what it means to be a libertarian, and if the non-aggression principle is always wrong, it's always wrong to violate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and sorry, Joe, were you about to say something else? I didn't want to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, it's also riffing off of what you said. It's also interesting because that Dave took that angle. Because a lot of left-wingers, a lot of socialists will use that emotional plea to argue for the welfare state. They'll say that if we do not tax billionaires, you are letting people die, and that is what they'll do. And libertarians, including Dave, would say that doesn't give you a right to tax people. And when we talk about a penny is obviously it's meant to show that it's a minuscule amount of property versus another person's life, right? Well, relatively, I mean, if it's a very poor person, obviously a penny is a penny, but to a poorer person, that penny is worth more than to like a very rich person. So by that standard, it seems that the standard Dave has laid out, why can't you make a case for the welfare state from taxing billionaires? From that perspective. Now, maybe Dave would disagree with that. I'm sure maybe but I want to know, if he did disagree with that, what is the principle behind where he draws that line? So, yeah. Like,
why? Even if that's just whims, at least say so. Yeah. Like, that's essentially what mine is, in a sense. Like, and I'll be honest, the egoist thing is kind of lazy man's philosophy, because it's kind of like, if I do run into contradictions, just go, well, they're all spooks, and I just kind of move on. So, I mean, so there is, but, it's a little bit freeing in that sense, in that I don't necessarily have to adhere to it. All right, guys, kind of shifting on before we really get into the root of the actual intellectual matter here. One more thing I do feel like we kind of have to address. It's a little bit of an elephant in the room, and I'll be honest, I guess it's probably maybe not in my financial interest to even mention it, because this is someone who actually is a sponsor of the show, and I do want to say much love to you, brother. But by God, I just can't. I have to. I mean, the elephant in the room that was just abysmal moderating. I've been someone who's moderated before, and I'm not saying I'm the primo moderator, but I've actually moderated 2 debates with Dave. I did the Austin Pearson, Gaza or Israel or whatever debate, and then I did something on like some tranny type stuff or something. I forget what the specific proposition was there. But either way, I think in both I instituted time limits, and the reason why is because I'm aware of who Dave is and how he interacts, and That's kind of how you have to rein in someone like that. You can't just let them have free reign. Because, for example, I'm pretty sure Zulu was dealing with internet problems, so a lot of people gave him shit for. And then you have someone who, frankly, won't shut the fuck up, and someone who barely can get a word in because he's probably operating on delay. This is literally the purpose of a moderator. I don't really, and also I think everyone noticed, myself included, how incredibly biased it was, which is fine. Like, say, for example, in the tranny debate I had, I was biased, and I mentioned that ahead of time. I think I did ask one question that I admitted, hey, this leans in, but for the most part, stayed out, tried not to laugh, when things were funny. But that's the role of a moderator. And even then, I'd say I probably didn't do a perfect job. But this was, I don't know, it was a bit much. It was a bit much, and this is kind of, I don't know where this is coming from. If this is like a hero worship thing, or because I've been subject to it in the past. I mean, maybe I've just gotten cold to the hero worship stuff because I've been in this game a little bit. Once again, not trying to self-aggrandize myself. I don't have like a huge channel or anything. I've just kind of gotten to know a lot of these people and interact with them, and just kind of, they're just people now. So, but to some people, they're still kind of in that butterfly stage where they go, oh, this is Dave Smith or whatever. So I don't know what exactly happened there, but I don't know. I mean, any thoughts from you guys? Am I being a dick here? Am I wrong? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, maybe I'm being an asshole because I do like Jacob. I just feel like it'd almost be disingenuous for me not to bring it up.
No, I don't think Jacob did a good job. I think there were definitely times where he did try to push back on Dave, but a lot more of the time, him and Dave kind of dogpiled on Zulu and tried to, press Zulu more on, Zulu, do you understand? Do you understand why people feel this way? And I'm sure he does. He said he's not retarded. I don't understand why we have to be so condescending in this regard. Like, you're a moderator. You're supposed to moderate.
Yeah.
Ace? I agree. I thought that that it seemed to be because it was titled a debate, right? That was the premise of it. There was a resolution. And I feel like not even halfway through, I think partway through, it just shifted into a conversation, and that was off-putting. In my opinion, I don't know the specifics of the behind the scenes of what Jacob told Dave and Zulu beforehand, but if it's titled a debate, I go in with expectations of a debate, with especially one with a resolution. That's very formal. So when I now I've never been a moderator, but if someone if one participant is going around and talking a lot, almost filibustering. I, as a moderator, would interject and say, Zulu, do you have any thoughts on that? What do you think? What would your reply be to that? Something of that manner, in order to shift it back to Zulu, so that way Zulu doesn't have to remember 10 things that Dave just said in a row, and he can the conversation can be more focused.
Luckily for Zulu here, he was only saying 3 things on repeat. So makes it, although I guess we got to talk a little bit now. We've talked about Dave. We talked about the moderator. I guess we got to talk about Zulu. I guess my opinion on kind of his debate performance, I guess I don't know. I mentioned his internet, so I guess I don't know if it, to some degree he's working with that handicap, but I know a lot of people give him, oh, you're shooting internet. I don't know what his internet situation is in Ireland or wherever the hell he is. So, I don't know. I can forgive him for that. That happens. This is I guess part of why you should institute time limits for things like this, so that they can kind of just say what they have to say. But even with all that, to be fair, I guess if I'm going to analyze this debate from a PR or hype type perspective, I actually would have to somewhat give it to Dave. But that's not intellectual whatsoever. If I'm going to look at this as an intellectual debate where intellectuals are observing it, people, I don't know, who aren't fucking retarded, I guess, or aren't incredibly biased, I guess, then I would say he actually kind of gave him to concede. He got him to concede just about everything. But the way he probed it, it was probably maybe not the most flashy. That's kind of the stuff I was saying before, Zulu's kind of almost. I mean, I don't watch regularly his show or anything. I've seen like a couple of his things or something, so I don't know if he does actually. Sometimes, I mentioned the kind of the podcaster, learning how to say things without actually saying much. So I don't know if Zulu just never learned that skill, and he's just I only speak substance, which I can respect like entirely. I kind of am more of that. I struggle with the performative language a little bit. But I guess I would have to say, like, perhaps there is a little bit of a desire for that, because I do think, with debates to some degree, even on the intellectual side, there is a little bit of a vibe, or charisma, or whatever, or I don't know, kind of this, whatever, this battle type stuff that goes on. That, if you want to win the crowd, there's a little bit of a crowd winning that you do need to get. So maybe we could make some sort of concession that perhaps he could spruce it up there. But even then, I feel like that feels like such a fucking gay critique. But, to be fair, if that's the only way you're looking at it, then Dave won. But that's a pretty vapid win to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Dave threw out more red meat sort of like to his audience. But if I'm judging a debate, the win condition for me of a debate is the resolution. And on the resolution, I think Zulu won. But I do agree that Dave had more of a aggressive approach that I think his audience will be attuned to more.
Yeah. Joe, any thoughts on Zulu's performance?
Yeah, I thought he made plenty of great arguments. I'm not an objectivist. I'm more of like a Kantian, Hoppian purist more so. But like on the substance, like on the conclusions about libertarianism itself, yeah, I think he crushed. I think he crushed it. And I just don't. Yeah, I don't think Dave made any arguments. He just, like he said, he just threw red meat out to his audience. If you're doing a debate, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I guess let's get actually to the substance of discussion here. I guess the kind of the resolution was what is a libertarian, and it was kind of like public property. Although I feel like in a certain sense, the real debate, in my opinion, or what I was kind of expecting to get out of this was actually the immigration stuff, which unfortunately didn't really get honed in on, but that is kind of, to some degree, I guess if you're going to be a cynic, you almost are like, this is part of what this argument is. Because like once you can smuggle in this like, oh, well, we can break it for certain times, and it's incredibly ambiguous, and it's sort of, ooh, what the normies want, and this will be unwinnable, or whatever. It's like, God, I totally lost my train of thought there. What was I even saying? Damn it, too late.
How that was the underlying point of the immigration debate. What Zulu and Dave talked about. Yeah,
the underlying point. But so yeah, you have to kind of get. So it sounds like abstract and gay to a lot of people. Are like, what? Why are we? But it is kind of I think the big issue, which I frankly, I know Dave has said some wild stuff about immigration, and I guess that's also that's part of what I wanted Zulu to hone in on, but it does seem like he was getting into the intellectual core of that, because once you can smuggle in this, like, we can break it for sometimes, then you can get to, oh, we can put our fucking entire military on the southern border or some shit, which is, frankly, if you had, I don't know, I like Dave a lot, but it's like, I don't know if maybe he's gotten lazy lately, or maybe he's not paying attention, but I can tell you, I run a daily show, and I do probably about 30 minutes on foreign policy every day, and immigration has become a foreign policy thing. It's in there all the time. It was like a month ago, there was something like British dude who got his fucking visa revoked because he was like some sort of foreign, I think it might have been like a comedian or speaker or something, some sort of speaker, and he was very anti-Israel. And he literally got his visa revoked without being told in the United States, got detained for weeks, and then had to get sent back. And it's just like, maybe you could make some case for like a year ago, and it being like, oh, I could give some level of forgiveness, I guess I could say, to having this position. But we're in this time now where it's like, even like we're literally experiencing the results of this. Like I get like they aren't actually doing the things they asked for, but that's the fucking point. Like this is almost more retarded than central planning, in my opinion, because it's like central planning, but with more steps. You know what I mean? Because it's like, this is what I want. You're like, well, once you give them the green light to do that, they're not going to do that, and they're going to take that energy and manipulate it into something absolutely abhorrent, which was what they have been doing. And, I'm someone who's been kind of, I guess, kind of not agnostic on the issue of thing. I've never been an issue that I really cared too much about. But honestly, at this point, I'm pretty much, I guess you could say, I'm open borders or whatever. Although that's that's the same thing in my opinion as calling someone an interventionist. At my core, I'm just an agorist who doesn't really agree with utilizing the state for goddamn anything really. And so at its core, am I going to advocate for any sort of immigration restrictions or anything like that? No, not really. Does that mean I want them to flood flood people over there? No. I just think at the very, very simple level, it's very obviously just compounding the problem as opposed to addressing the root issues. So I guess I threw a lot at you there. I guess it almost makes it sound like I was asking about immigration. But I guess really maybe it'd be better before we hone in too much on that to maybe just stay on kind of the topic of the discussion, I guess, in the idea of like is it okay to ever break the nap? But I mean, this is kind of in a big picture type way is kind of what that leads to in a certain sense. I think. I don't know. I guess I set down a lot there, but I'm kind of thinking it through as I go. I guess a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just say one quick thing on immigration in regards to Dave, and then I'll get back to like the main topic. I do find it interesting that for Dave, someone who is like sticks to his intuition a lot in terms of like when he was talking about like when he can violate the nap and when he cannot. It's a little striking to me that someone can look at ICE kicking in doors in the middle of the night and dragging people out of apartment buildings and not have an intuition that maybe this is anti-liberty. That's just that's just should be the prima facie response intuitively. But anyway, back to the point. I think that in terms of like, I also wanted the debate to kind of go into immigration more as well. That was kind of like what I was hoping for a little more. But I also understand why it didn't. It was a really when Zulu very early on. Dave said something, and Joe, you might remember this better than I, because I only watched it once when it was live. But Dave said something very early on where I believe he disputed the truth validity of whether the nap was true or something to that effect. And Zulu caught onto that very early on, and that was like the crux of the debate. And if Zulu had tried himself to like just move on to immigration, that would have been seen as Zulu dodging the main topic, right? So it was very important for Zulu to kind of like nail Dave down on what he said very early on. That was very objectionable. Also, I think that, in my opinion, and again, this is just my bias. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but if I was Jacob, I would have allotted some amount of time to say, okay, let's move on to the immigration part. He
tried to do that, I think.
He did mention public property, to be fair, at one point. But yeah, that was sort of my take on it. I also wanted immigration to be more of a focus on it, but I totally understand why Zulu had to nail Dave down in the way he did.
Any thoughts on that, Joe? And then I guess we'll probably get a little bit more into our thoughts on actually, I know, the nap breaking, and really, I guess kind of really just, I really feel like the best thing would be to flesh out the hypothetical or whatever. But Joe, any thoughts on all of that? I guess maybe on I guess a little bit, I guess we riffed a little bit on immigration there, so I guess it makes sense to stay on that theme before we delve into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most of this started with like arguing with Dave about immigration like a year or so ago, something like that, and just getting brushed off as, if you support open borders, you're just as bad as a communist and all this stuff, and just being brushed off and mocked instead of like taken seriously, like as if like after the Mises Caucus took over the Libertarian Party from the other, I guess, left-wing pragmatist. I don't know what I would even consider, but the loser brigade, and then you have like actual Rothbardian, Hoppian, type libertarians who are, into theory going and being like, well, we're not those people, but we do have a problem with this particular, what we understand to be a divergence from the theory itself, and just understanding, like in every other aspect of libertarian theory, books like Crisis and Leviathan by Robert Higgs and stuff like that, the state always uses crisis to expand its power so it can, just get more power and just mold society to the interests
maybe this
that are,
time.
yeah, but maybe this no, like there and now the second Trump administration is like black bagging people in the streets and making them disappear, like deporting people because they're critical of Israel. All this crazy stuff that it's not acceptable by libertarian standards at all. And like credit, I haven't paid enough attention to see if they've criticized like the black bagging and the Israel deportation type stuff. But if they have, credit to them. I haven't, just haven't paid attention enough to see. But yeah, no, I don't understand how we can like just be accepting of giving the state this kind of power.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into, I guess, the kind of what I don't know if I mentioned this episode. I think we mentioned it before. I was joking with my producer on Already Dead earlier, and this is where I came up with the idea. He called it a soy jack, and I was like, oh my god, that's so genius. It literally is. Like, this whole thing is, yeah, oh, he said it. Oh, he said it. Like, you could just imagine behind here, there's the, like, in text, like, would you, whatever, yes, whatever the hypothetical was. Would you steal a penny to save your mom or whatever? And they're like, oh my god, he said it. Like that. And that's what it feels like. But, I think then there's, like, kind of like, well, what does that even mean? Like, what roles do reductio ad absurdums have in intellectual discourse? Can we contextualize this? I've kind of thought about this a little bit. I mean, it seems like you have quite a bit as well, Ace. I mean, at the very least, I guess maybe the proposition almost has to be changed, or the hypothetical almost has to be changed, like, immediately, which I think it did in the debate. But I think once you even start, thinking this way, you realize, like, oh shit, like, the very hypothetical by itself is a paradox. Like, in my opinion, like, if you are saying, hey, you have to steal a penny or your mom's dead, you're like, well, then that implies, like, there's some outside force that's, like, literally forcing you in some way. You're being forced to make a choice. So it's like, if you steal a penny, is that really breaking the nap? If it's like, if I put a gun to your head and say, steal that fucking penny, or I'm going to shoot your mom, like, it's not to your head, to your mom's head and say, steal that fucking penny, did you really aggress? And then I guess then it becomes, oh, well, stealing a loaf of bread to, feed your children, and that's a little bit more like, okay, and now the aggressor's reality or something. But even then it's like, well, how the fuck did you even arrive in this scenario, this ridiculous scenario where somehow you've gone through life and you're all going to starve to death? I mean, it's kind of like, it's a little bizarre. But Ace, I mean, do you have anything on this? Like, what are your thoughts? Does this kind of come off as like a dumb kind of, I don't know, it's just the idea this is even really working on people to this degree, and they don't even stop to think, like, well, maybe this guy has something else, some other deeper thought here than just, no, fuck my mom. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ace?
Yeah, I will say one thing. So I do think that just on theory-wise, on like a deontological ground from libertarianism, from the NAP, I do think that even if you're being coerced, like let's use the idea of someone who's conscripted, right, into war. He's being coerced to go out and harm other people. But even though he's being coerced, under libertarianism, under my view, he does not have the right to harm those people, even though he's being coerced. But at the same time, I still grant more grace to someone who's under duress than I would, someone who's doing it in like a premeditated fashion, if we're talking just on a moral level. But in terms of that, like the penny issue is obviously meant to, like, when Dave uses it, for example, it's obviously meant to be a reductio ad absurdum. Now, reductio ad absurdums are important to show that there's an absurd conclusion here, or a seemingly absurd conclusion. And that normal, and Dave is correct. The one thing I'll say Dave is correct on is that when you get a reductio ad absurdum, you should check your premises. That's correct. I fully believe that. But Dave seems to think that that's enough to essentially like kind of win the argument, just to say something's absurd. No, it's just a reason to check your premises. If the premises come back correct, like the premises are like intact and sound and valid, and it leads to that conclusion, well, then that's just the conclusion, even though it's absurd. So the reductio ad absurdums are basically like to say, hey, you should go check your work again. But they're not alone powerful enough to say, therefore, you're wrong.
Yeah. Joe, what are your thoughts about the reductio ad absurdum that really, if we're going to be real here, is what did the entire legwork of "Ooh, Dave won."
Yeah, I agree with Ace. I think even if you are being coerced, you have a duty not to aggress. Even outside of like rights theory, like it's always wrong to lie as well. Like some of these people just being like, oh, libertarianism isn't a full moral theory, and they're right. It's only part of a moral theory that deals with conflicts under the conditions of scarcity. But like, if especially if you are a Hoppian libertarian or somebody that believes in the discourse ethics or argumentation ethics, trying to justify lying presupposes telling the truth. And if you're saying that you ought to lie in whatever hypothetical, you're presupposing like, why are you telling the truth now? You can't. You're contradicting yourself. So I think pretty much like the Reductio ad Absurdum, it's a good debate tool, but we have to understand that morality doesn't have to do with other people's like capacity to forgive or understand why you would do something immoral. Because forgiving and understanding would be of doing something immoral. It doesn't change the nature of what you did.
Yeah, and I think it may be a key point here too, which I don't even remember. You've rewatched this. You watch it twice, Joe, so maybe you'll have a better idea of what Zulu was even saying, particularly whether it's a should or a would. But I do think it's at least worth mentioning that if the question is should or would you do this, it's different than whether you should do this. Like a concession that I would break the nap is not in any way a concession that the nap is invalid. And I'm someone who, I mentioned earlier, the P stands for preference for me. So I don't even really hold it as a principle. I'm just saying, logically speaking, that doesn't invalidate it.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
What you would say? Oh, sorry. Sound like what you guys say something. You said right. All right. I guess trying to think of, is there anything else really that's of meaning to even really delve into this before we go into the chat and see what some of the people there have to say, or at least say hi? I mean, is there anything in there of this that you guys want to talk about in that you feel like we should? I did say this was going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I just kind of want to pick your brains of this. Is there anything you feel like was worthwhile talking about? Because that really kind of was the debate. It was 3.5 hours hemming and hawing about, oh my God, I can't believe you wouldn't steal a penny to I don't know, save your mom.
I think that I do want to kind of bolster off what you just said there a moment ago, though, because that is a huge distinction, right?
Yes.
Would you versus like ought you or should you, right?
Yes.
Those are wildly different things, right? Now, I'm a deontologist. If I was put in that position, I probably would steal the penny, right? Yeah. Like I'm just being honest here. But that says nothing. That says absolutely nothing about what the NAP says about stealing the penny. So it's very important to like keep those two things separated. And I think that I think truthfully, Dave was trying to like essentially like I don't know. He was trying to make Zulu out to be a bad person by his answer. And like whether you think Zulu's a bad person or not for his answer, that's not an argument. It's not an argument against Zulu's position. And to me, that just comes across as incredibly weak. Yeah. And like if Dave wanted to counter Zulu, he should have given a principled reason why the NAP does not apply and why Zulu would be wrong about his conclusion in the first place. And I just found it to be kind of weak because, as I said earlier, a lot of socialists or right-wingers could go to Dave and say that he's immoral, he's a horrible person because he doesn't support the state funding these, in their view, life-saving government services. So yeah, I think the same thing could be applied to Dave. And if Dave was debating a socialist and a socialist acted like Dave to Dave and how Dave was treating Zulu, Dave would not receive that well. He would not respond well to how he treated Zulu in that debate.
Yeah. Joe, what do you have anything else that you've watched this twice, so I mean, if there's anything that we haven't mentioned that you want to hone in on, I did actually kind of want to maybe talk to you guys after this about kind of the weird, I guess, kind of the Libertarian, what that means, because I put out a tweet the other day. It was like the Dave Smith dick riding thing has gone out of hand. The economy, it's actually, it is kind of wild, and it's kind of, anyways, I'm not going to try to jump into the next question before, but I guess a little teaser for the next question. But Joe, just any final, and I guess not final thoughts, we're going to keep talking, but anything particularly on the debate that you wanted to talk about? I mean, like I said, you watched it twice. Maybe there's some specific point we didn't hone in on. But as I told, I think both of you guys earlier, it's not really a ton of commentary to be had on here because not really any arguments were made hardly. So, Joe, and anything in there that you really wanted to hone in on?
I did have a thought just a moment ago, but like I've been sick for like 2 weeks, and I just lost my train of thought that I was holding on to. I'm sorry if I've been if my coughing and sneezing has been coming through, but yeah, I had a thought and I lost it, and maybe it'll come back like as soon as the show is over. But yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're good. It's just been a rough 2 weeks.
It happens, dude. It happens to me all the time. I swear, people must think I'm like stoned out of my mind or something, because I lose these trains of thought all the time. But I guess we can, feel free to chime in if you're like, oh yeah, that's the thing. Get it in there while it's still in there before you lose it again. But I guess kind of transition. I guess Ace, what are your thoughts? Am I onto something? I mean, I guess this is kind of what Zulu's kind of main point, really, in a sense, of this libertarian video is, where it's like. And I think this is an extension of the whole political movement, centering it around one central figure, and then all these people who bought into it. And it's kind of the sunk cost fallacy a little bit, but in like kind of a social type way. I mean, it's just getting out of hand. And I think, as I said in that tweet, it's like I don't think it does Dave any favors. I don't think it does the people that are essentially riding his dick any favors, and I don't think it does the ideas any favors. And it's kind of gross looking at it from the outside. Once again, maybe I've just gotten to where the hero worship's worn off on me, and maybe I'm just not being as forgiving enough for some of these people. But it frankly comes off as a little gross. I mean, shit, we had within 48 hours, we had like a Mises fucking article, which I haven't read it. I don't know, to be fair to Liam, maybe it's a great piece. I have no idea, but it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. It's just maybe, you'd know better than I would, Joe, the sort of screening that goes into dropping articles, but it just feels weird to me. But anyways, you say cut it off, shut it down. I don't know the inner politics there, but it just feels bizarre to me. It just feels odd. And then some of the people running to oh my god, I can't believe the libertarians are going to authority. And it's just peak faggotry, like over and over again, frankly. And I'm just kind of grossed out by it. I don't know. Any thoughts on all of that, Ace? I mean, this is like, in a certain sense, the core thing Zulu's saying, I guess.
I think libertarians do have a big hero worship problem. And to be fair, I understand why a lot of people fall into it. We're a very, very small minority, right? And we've wanted our ideas out there for a long time. So when someone who is describing themselves as libertarian gets very popular and gets to go on Joe Rogan, gets to go on all these shows, it's very almost a primal instinctual feeling that a lot of people have to be like, that's our guy. We have to protect him from criticism. He's the front line kind of out there, right? So there's that instinctual thing, but then that can quickly turn into we have to protect him from any and all criticism.
Yes,
and that's when it becomes
which
very bad.
Which is like, honestly, like one of the worst things I think you could do to a person, and maybe not one of the worst. Obviously, it's way worse, but it's a bad thing to do to a person. I guess is the way to put it, because. I mean, I could go and say, if I ever get fucking huge, not that I think I will, I don't think I have those sort of skills to get to the big time, nor do I have the sensibility for it, because, here I am rocking the boat in this way. But I can tell you guys right now, please, for the love of God, don't do this to me. Do not suck my dick like this, please, for the love of God. Because what happens, and it gets to people's head, and how could it not? Like, everyone's telling you how great you are, how wonderful you are. It feels good. but then you start kind of reinforces your beliefs, even if those aren't beliefs that are actually reinforced by anything. So, I mean, it is, yeah, that'd be one of the worst things you guys could do. Now, I'm not saying go ruin me, like, personally, go dig up things from 10 years ago and be like, why did you say this? And, oh, here's that thing, but, like, don't destroy my personal life or some crazy stuff. But if you're like, if I'm saying some wild shit that you're like, this seems illogical, you should probably say something, because I might be like, oh, shit, yeah, you're right, that was dumb. And I guess to some extent, there's maybe a little bit of a humility issue here, too, I think. I've been kind of grossed out by the lack of it. Oh, while at the same time, I found Dave is literally lecturing Zulu about humility while showing absolutely, frankly, is kind of, while flexing on him in this weird way. Literally telling, I swear to God, if I have to hear the stupid fucking Alex Berenson story one more fucking time, it's like, I get it. Cool. He did good things. That's great. That's like, I mean, most people would just go, that was some good work and move on, even though we had beef in the past. Like, I don't know. It seems like an odd thing to me, especially when it's like the context is like, almost like talking down to someone, and it just seems kind of ironic to me. I don't know, I'm throwing a lot there. Joe, do you have any thoughts on any of this? Or Ace, I guess if you do too.
No, go to Joe, please. Go to Joe.
Yeah, I think there is kind of a problem with the celebritarian thing. Like, we libertarians are humans just like everybody else. You know, we have the people that got us to where we are, and then maybe like later on, some of us are just, well, I don't agree with that so much anymore, or anything like that. And I don't, I just want to be clear, like, you know, I still respect everybody that I disagree with. You know, I don't agree with, you know, Hoppe on the border thing anymore. I don't agree with, you know, Lou on the border thing anymore. And, you know, Liam McCollum is my friend, and I respect him. I've, you know, hung out with him at Mises a whole bunch of times. I don't agree with the article that was put out. And I've made a couple of tweets about, you know, my position on it. But yeah, I think libertarians in general do need to like try to be more critical of themselves and the philosophy as such, and like try to maybe adopt a meta philosophy, you know, an epistemology that gets to libertarianism, rather than seeing the world through libertarianism and from the you know, perspectives and interpretations some of our heroes might have laid out, and just be more critical of why we believe what we believe and how we get there from there, you know. And you know, I try to be humble about it, you know, not always. I can be, you know, fairly arrogant. But, you know, because I, you know, used to support, you know, border restrictions and stuff like that. So I don't go that hard about it, you know. I used to fight with Ace about it a lot, actually. But, you know, I've been convinced otherwise. But yeah, I think libertarians should try to be more reflective. And I know also that there's like an opportunity cost to like reanalyzing everything you believe and spending all your time doing that. Like that's understandable. But like I do think like we should be more reflective of how we ground our beliefs.
I mean, if you don't decide why you're doing something, somebody else will. So that's kind of really, I mean, I don't know. It is kind of, while I did say I have the lazy man's philosophy, I've also thought about it a lot. Doesn't mean it's right or that it is kind of lazy, but you know, these are things. I mean, I'm not a religious fellow, so it is kind of like, I don't know. I don't have this quick, easy book says do this. I've had to think about these things. But all right, let's go through the chat. And then if Joe, if at any point you think of the thing you forgot about earlier, we can talk about it. Ace, obviously, if you have any other ideas you want to talk about, we can. Now we'll go through the chat. This is only to the patrons. We are going to release this a lot earlier than we typically do, these paywalled episodes, but usually keep them behind like a couple weeks, so a little bit of apology to the patrons, but you guys get the exclusive ability to ask questions and stuff. And here we have Fear of the Old Blood. He says, so I am far from being as well versed in theory like y'all are, but while it is morally wrong to violate the NAP in some circumstances, is it understandable? I think we kind of already answered that earlier. But feel free to jump off of any of that. Oh, and never mind. Not quite sure if I worded it right, but like, are some NAP violations while being unethical understandable?
Yeah, I think it's completely, understandable, and that why somebody would, violate the nap. And I made this point earlier. It doesn't that other people's opinions are not necessarily relevant. Like if you violate the nap, you're violating somebody else's property. But the moral weight behind that is not other people's feelings or capacity for forgiveness. You have still done something unethical, but we are humans. We understand one another. It can be the case that you're understanding and forgiving of why somebody might. You don't have to prosecute somebody who was put in a bad situation and did choose to do something unethical, but we can't lie to ourselves and say that we didn't do anything unethical.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. So ditto what Joe said.
100%. All right, and then I guess there's a little bit of a fun addition to this. This is him again. He said, I guess to give an example to my earlier example, while it is immoral because it's a violation of NAP, would what Gary Plosh did to that pedo be understandable? I guess, and even then, I don't even know. I know. I guess I'd be curious on your thoughts. Maybe get a little bit more abstract on the criminal justice when it comes to libertarian theory. What would the proper move be for like a Gary Plosh? For those who aren't aware of this situation, I don't know all the specific details, but this is I think Gary Plosh's son, I believe, was getting diddled by what is like a karate instructor or something like that. And then I think, it's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. And then there's that one scene where he literally, like in the court, there's literally on video where he like kind of is pretending he's on a payphone, and then as the guy comes out of court, he turns around and then blows his brains away, which I totally understand. But I'll actually give a little bit of pushback, even just from a fatherly, because you guys don't have kids, so you don't get this. But I will say I actually disagree with it Gary Plosh did, and I will say that actually as a father, because I don't know how long Gary ended up going away to jail. I actually think he got kind of hooked up, but with that comes a realization that I'm almost certainly going to get put away for a long period of time, and I would probably put far more value in actually being in my child's life than getting some meaningless, not entirely meaningless, obviously he can't victimize again, but a mostly meaningless, killing, I guess, I guess anything on there, I guess what are your thoughts on criminal justice when it comes to this sort of thing? But I would say from a fatherly perspective, I understand the want for vengeance, and maybe in my sort of society, perhaps that would be okay. But a recognition of living in a society where I'll go away for a very long time and not be able to be with my children would probably make me not want to do that. But so a little bit, I think it was actually probably a stupid fucking move. But any thoughts on that?
I don't think it was prudential of him to kill him, but this is just my emotion speaking. I am not personally sure if he did anything wrong morally in executing him. It might be he didn't kill the kid, but he did molest him, and that scarring for life. Well, I'm not sure how out of proportion that was. Yeah. So I don't think he necessarily did anything immoral, but I don't think he did anything prudential in murdering after the sentence was, made.
Mm-hmm. Ace, any thoughts on that? Obviously, it's kind of a big criminal justice question, but I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. I'm a bit more skeptical, I think, than most libertarians on the theory of that you can get to punishment. I think Joe and I might disagree on that a little bit. But even so, this is not something that I'm oh my God, I can't believe he did this. This is oh yeah, I totally get why he did this, right? And it's I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. All right. I guess one last question. The biggest argument I've heard coming from the people opposing Zulu is that he's a gay, ginger, retard. I don't know all these. So what are your thoughts on that? Should we discount his opinions because he has goofy hair and he tends to speak in literal senses and not really spruce it up and with a fun little goofiness? What do you think? Is that in any way? Oh, and then I guess that actually kind of adds to also his opening. I've actually seen some arguments, a little bit of a secondary thing about that. He opened with a written statement because
He was reading stuff, dude.
Yeah, goddamn reading. He actually took time and actually took this debate seriously and prepared something from it that addressed the intellectual points at hand. What a fucking faggot, right? Am I right, guys, or what? What do you guys think?
I think these people need to grow the fuck up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty silly, honestly. But Ace, what do you think?
and look, just because he's a ginger and has no soul, that doesn't mean he's wrong.
Yes.
So we have to always remember that.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts from you? Either way, you guys can drop your plugs and we'll get out of here. I'm sure there's something later. I'm like, shit, I wish I had brought that up. But we've already spent a lot longer than I thought we would talking about this. So, any final thoughts, Joe? I'll pass it up to you. And then I guess if you got anything to promote, any plugs, if you just want to plug your Twitter again, whatever. And then we'll get out of here. I'll also pass off to Ace after that. But your final thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, my final thoughts is that we should all commit to the norms presupposed in discourse. Strive to be honest. Treat each person as a rational actor capable of evaluating arguments and engaging in conflict-avoiding behavior. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Other than you can follow me on Twitter on @BurnTheLies. Remember that the has an A in it instead of.
All right, Ace, any final thoughts? Obviously, because me and you, or because us three here are advocating or saying Zulu won, that means we agree with all of his positions and are huge fans of his, and we're all one tribal pact. So, Ace, what are your final thoughts on all this?
I mean, just to sort of as a summary of sort of my overall thoughts on it, I do think Zulu won. I think Dave was more like bombastic in the debate, and I think that'll play more to his audience probably. But in terms of like the resolution, I think Zulu cleared it. I think that Dave, I think Dave was being very dismissive ultimately of Zulu's points and just, it's just goofy, bro, and I do wish it had gone into the immigration part. And that's selfish of me because I have been arguing with Dave over immigration for like 2 years now.
There we go. Right there. Actually, I just go ahead and throw out the gauntlet because actually one thing I did want to, there were 3 things in my head that I was like, I really feel like I should say. I feel like Dave owes an apology to Jacob. I feel like Jacob owes an apology to his audience. And I think, and while I don't think it's going to happen whatsoever, I think there should be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I know that's not happening because there was no debate had. There was no debate had. And now I would say, obviously, there's not going to be a Zulu thing, but I don't know, maybe like an Ace, Dave, something. I'd be happy to moderate, or someone else can. I don't fucking care.
I don't know if you would ever do it, but I would be down.
Yeah.
I will say one last thing. Dave did agree to like collaborate with Zulu in the future, and I thought that was I thought that was a good thing to end the debate on. Yeah. Is that despite all that, he was willing to concede that in the future we'll do stuff together. I think that's cool. I think that's
we'll see.
Super dope.
We'll see.
We'll see, but like, hey,
Yeah, but yeah, I do think it should be reattacked because I don't think, especially when it comes to immigration debates, which is what this was kind of getting honed in on, as we mentioned. But I think he'd even said before that, like, because he I forget the name of the guy, Norwestra or whatever the hell his name is, because he's kind of like a pragmatist type of guy. So it's not like he's coming from some radical approach. So, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to that with Zulu, where he's not this weird mushy. So we have these 2 mushy positions, like essentially the libertarian equivalent of like, here's this guy arguing for a 2% tax increase, and here's this guy arguing for 3% tax increase. That's kind of what we got there. And so we never actually really got, in my opinion, any sort of real immigration debate. And there was an opportunity for this here. And as I've said before, I'm kind of someone on the fence, or I'm kind of leaning, I'll be honest, more and more I'm falling into the like, no, this is retarded. This is retarded and / or evil, if you're advocating for this. So, I mean, I guess I can give the common man some I don't know, forgiveness here. But as I said before, if you're someone, this is your job, you regularly are embroiled in the news, then you're just like, I don't know, you're either not doing your due diligence or you're I don't know. You're I don't know on the take or something. I don't know, or some sort of intellectual dishonesty. But Ace, did you get your plugs in there, or did I forget that? Or no?
I forgot. So the main plug is just the End Times Continue. It's a podcast I co-host with my friend Dino. And yeah, I think that's it.
But yeah, I guess I cut you off. That's why. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good.
Because you made me think of like, throw the gauntlet. Hey, there's a small chance Dave watches this, and I'd be surprised if he watches this whole thing. I don't know. He might be a little bit upset by it, but like, here you go. There's the gauntlet. If you want to if you feel like, hey, this is aggrieved, and you think you want to redeem yourself here, like, because I'm fully on. I like Dave. I like Dave a lot. Like, I actually really like him, but I'm also nobody's bitch. So
in case Dave watches this also, next time you come to me, says let's just get a beer and hang out. I mean,
yeah, that'd be cool. I like Dave a lot, to be very clear, but I just felt I was very disappointed by this showing. I thought it was frankly felt a little bit disingenuous, a little intellectually dishonest, but whatever. I don't know. It felt very much no arguments to be had, but there's the gauntlet. I don't know, Ace versus Dave on immigration. I'd be here for that. But with that, guys, we're gonna get out of here. For those who want to support the show, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, on Rumble, all the major auto podcatchers, on Twitter as well at Tower Gang Jose. And if you want to support the show the best way you can do that with money. You see right here, QR code at patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get access to early episodes. I usually do about 1 to 2 of those a week. Keep about 4 behind the paywall any given time. You also get access to ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to Telegram and access to pre-show, post-show, and the video calls. Me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead. And also give a big shout out to my sponsors, which maybe this might be a little bit shorter after today. It's a big thank you for all their support. My previous co-hosts on Tower Gang at Learn to Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRCK, at _Infinite Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly Klebold, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tackless, 1-800-CAR for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. I'd still recommend that show. I think it was really great. I just feel like he needs to brush up on his moderating skills. But with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Love you all. We'll see you on the next one. And be sure to pop in for my daily morning show, Mondays through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern. I am a working man, pick up shifts occasionally, so it's not always on time. Sometimes we miss them, but be sure to hit subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. That way you get told when we're going live, but that's usually when it is. With that, guys, we're out of here. Love you all. Bye-bye.